Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2020 X-Men franchise film, I guess. The New Mutants, a film that is co-written and directed by Josh Boone, and it stars Maisie Williams, Anna Taylor-Joy, Charlie Heaton, Alice Braga, Blue Hunt and Henry Zaga. Now this film focuses on a group of teenagers who have mutant abilities who are being held at a facility where they are being cared for by Alice Braga's character Dr. Reyes, and she is there to assess their mutant abilities until they are able to control them and allowed back into society, or so she tells them. However, there may be something a little bit more sinister going on here, and a new mutant joins the group, Danielle, who has some very powerful mutant abilities that may end up threatening all of them. Right, what is there to say about the New Mutants, really? I mean, this film has had a troubled run up to the cinemas. I think it's fair to say it was due to be released in 2018, I believe, and it has been delayed, I think, 2 or 3 times since then. However, it has finally been released, and I think everybody was expecting this to be an absolute shocker, and an abomination of a movie or something like that. And I've looked at some reviews on IMDb, and there's people 1 out of 10 review bombing it. Oh, I'm sure has probably never even seen the movie, if I'm perfectly honest. I think it's shocking when people do things like that. Now, is this film as bad as everyone thinks it's going to be, or is, or expected it to be? Well, the answer is no, not really. It's certainly watchable. Is it a good film? No, not really. Is it a bit of a mess? Yes, it's definitely a bit of a mess. And you can see that they obviously changed direction several times while making this film, because apparently there's been reshoots and probably rewrites, all sorts of things. So because of that, it feels a bit muddled and messy, the film. I don't think it really knows what direction it wants to go in. There are times this film feels like a horror film, or trying to be a horror film, like a haunted house movie. It's trying to scare you. There are other times when it kind of is like a psychological thriller, and then there are other times when I think it gets to the point in the film when it realises, oh, people are going to expect an X-Men film here, aren't they? I think we better give them some of that. And so it does that as well. The ending feels very tacked on to me, and very, let's throw some effects at the screen and try and keep the audience happy. So it feels a little bit all over the place, this film. However, it's not awful. It's watchable. Does it stand up there with the best X-Men films? No, not really. It doesn't. To be perfectly honest, it doesn't even feel to me like an X-Men film, other than a mention in the film about the X-Men when the group are speculating whether they are being prepped to be X-Men, sort of thing. If it wasn't for that, this film definitely would not feel like it belonged as an X-Men film. And let's be honest, the X-Men films are gone now. It's going to be incorporated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, X-Men, at some point. So those X-Men films have gone, and this feels like it's missed the boat for a start. It doesn't feel like an X-Men movie, and if it was an X-Men movie, they've missed the mark with it. And it also it's too late, if you like. The X-Men movies have gone now. They've missed their window of opportunity, if they ever had one. So it's an odd film. There's plot holes all over the place as well. I won't go into many, but there's one that stands out to me, is if these mutants are so important that they've been held at this facility to have their powers examined, I guess, why is only one person there holding them? Alice Braga's character, Dr. Reyes. You know, there's nobody else there apart from these kids and her. Not that I saw, anyway. The effects, they felt a little meh. They're just not very, I don't know, they're not outstanding. And like I say, they feel a bit tacked on. Certainly some of the effect shots at the end. I wasn't overly impressed with some of the effects, I'll say that much. I was interested in some of the characters here. Anya Taylor-Joy's character was interesting. Blue Hunt's character was interesting. There were a couple of interesting characters here, and I was interested in their pasts and their stories and things like that. But we don't get an awful lot of that. You get a few flashbacks here and there, and some indication of their past now and again, but nothing really much more than that. So I thought, as a group of mutants, they were okay. They felt varied. They all kind of felt like they had a different story to tell, but we didn't get much of that story, just snippets really, and I wanted more of that. And I think if they were gonna commit to almost like a psychological thriller, stroke horror at times, just do it, commit to it and do it. And let the audience decide, and I'm sure that's maybe what the director wanted, and maybe the studio stepped in and says, nope, we're not having that. That's not what the X-Men audience will expect. It lacks a villain, this film. There's no real villain to speak of, and when you watch the film you'll understand why, and I don't want to give spoilers away. And it could have done with a more tangible villain for these characters to tackle. So what essentially we are left with here is, and a bit of an odd film. It's not as bad as you probably are being told or think it is because of all the delays, etc. Yes, it is a bit messy. It's clear it's been reshot and there's all that kind of stuff going on, but it's certainly watchable. And there's a movie in here somewhere. Maybe there's a director's cut a couple of years down the line that might make this film better. I'll give it a bit more clarity. But as it stands right now, it's a 6 out of 10. For me, for the New Mutants. Yes, it's not a great film, but it's actually 6 out of 10 is not a great score, I know, but it is certainly a better score than I expected to give it, if that makes sense. I was expecting a real stinker here, and films very rarely are. When people say they're really, really shocking and terrible, it's very rarely the case in my experience. So check it out if you're a big fan of the X-Men. You might not totally hate it, but then again you might completely despise it. Who knows? Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the review. I will see you back with more reviews and content on Screen Stars very, very soon.